Hi, I'm JMCR71795, and I'm doing this video in response to my last video because I thought it really sucked. For some reason, when I'm trying to talk to a camera with no one else around, I become very nervous and fuck up what I want to say. When I have someone else there, I can ignore the camera and speak directly to that person. So this time I'm doing it with some notes. For those of you who responded to my last video with comments and showed a lack of knowledge of anarchism, I'd recommend that you check Wikipedia. I did, as I no longer have any books on political ideology. Nowadays I mainly read books on evolutionary genetics, archaeology, science, so most of this talk will be from Wiki. Now, to start with, let me explain the basics of anarchism. Anarchism comes from the Greek word anarcho, which basically means without rulers. Anarchy came to be equated with chaos because people, mainly within the ruling classes, believed that people were incapable of living good, moral lives without submitting to the rules of the church leaders and the ruling elite or state. For without the hierarchical, patriarchal rulers, they believed, and indeed still believe, that society would descend into chaos of violence and rule by thugs. But that would not be anarchism, as it would still have rulers. By definition, an anarchist society cannot have any rulers, but rather each individual ruling themselves. There are many different branches or flavors of anarchist philosophy. I tend to lean towards the ideas from three famous anarchists, Mikhail Bakunin, Peter Kropotkin, and Murray Bookchin. Bakunin was mostly an organizer. He translated Marx's Capital into Russian. But him and Marx didn't get along too well, as he had a great disagreement with the concept of dictatorship of the proletariat, as dictatorship of any form, no matter who is the dictator, is bad. Peter Kropotkin, or Prince Peter Kropotkin, was another anarchist who lived a little bit later, was younger than Bakunin, died in 1921 actually. He was more of an anarcho-communist, but he believed in mutual cooperation, evolution through mutual cooperation, and wrote books on that. I've found in the science books that I have now, I've found several authors actually mention his concept of cooperation within evolution, which during his time that was quite a radical thought, as most people believed that the only way you could have evolution was red of nail and tooth, or whatever, fighting, okay? Creatures eating other creatures. The Germans were one of the biggest proponents of that in the First World War, believing, and Hitler on top of it, believing that they had the right. Might is right. Kropotkin showed otherwise. Bookchin, on the other hand, he died just a couple of years ago, and he actually distanced himself from anarchism at the end of his life. He was kind of the founder of green anarchy, so to speak. I tend to get a lot of my ecological ideas from him. He had some wonderful ideas. Anyways, this makes me very anti-capitalist, pro-collectivist, supporting the idea of associations of free people working for the common good of all equally. Anarcho-capitalism, on the other hand, tries to join the individualist anarchism philosophy with free market capitalism. While in theory it may not sound too bad, In practice, I cannot see how it would be any different from the free market capitalism promoted by the Republicans or other right-wing parties. Need I remind you all that it was the removal of restrictions that has caused the current global economic crisis? Within any market, there must be restrictions of some sort to prevent or punish the crooked and greedy. Game theory shows that. Reality shows that. Anarcho-capitalists are tools of the extreme right. As any totally free market, anarchist or otherwise, would cause an ever greater widening gap between rich and poor, with an eventual slide into chaos and rule by thugs. And that is what the extreme right neo-fascists want. This is not anarchism. Thanks.